Hi guys, I'm Whitney. I'm a yoga instructor and personal trainer here at Fitness Unlimited. And so I'm just gonna go over a couple stretches here to help you with some of your tribe training, to stretch out your calves, your glutes, your hamstrings, and your quads, some of those places that are feeling a little extra tight from some of your workouts. Okay, so you're gonna start in a tabletop position with your hands right under your shoulders and your knees right under your hips. And then for some thoracic mobility, you're just gonna drop your belly down and lift your chest. And then you're gonna round through your back and tuck your chin. Okay, and you're gonna move back and forth between these two postures for about 30 seconds. Okay, just get a good stretch in both directions. And then you'll come back to a tabletop, tuck your toes under, and then you're gonna start to walk your hands back, lift your knees up, and then let your heels lower all the way down to the floor. So when you do that, you should feel a really nice stretch down through your calves. And then hold this one for about 30 seconds as well. And then you're gonna walk back into a tabletop so your knees are down. And then sit back on your heels and just rest your hands on your thighs. So your head stays stacked over your hips, and this should stretch down through the bottom of your feet. Okay, so your toes stay tucked. And again, that's for about another 30 seconds. And then just return to the tabletop. So the next pose is a downward facing dog. And in your down dog, you want to think of yourself as being in an upside down V. So my hips are really high and I'm pressing my chest back towards my thighs. So a lot of times what tends to happen is that we're here and tensed up in our shoulders. So you want to push away from your hands and get your weight back into your feet. And then once you're there, you're just gonna bend into one knee and push the other heel down towards the floor so you feel a nice stretch down through that calf, and then just switch to the other side. And hold each side just a couple seconds and move through it for about 30 seconds. Okay, and then you're gonna return back to your downward facing dog, and you'll take one foot, bring it behind the other so that your pinky toes come right next to each other. And then you're gonna bend into one knee and press the other heel down towards the floor. So again, you'll feel a nice stretch through the calf, but also up into the IT band. And then you can do the other side. Hold each side for about 20 seconds, and then return to your downward facing dog. So this next pose is called a runner's lunge. My knees stacked over my heels, so make sure that your foot's not so far back that the knee is way over the toes. You really want the foot up between your hands, and my back leg is nice and straight. Then you're gonna drop your hips, but keep that back leg straight and lift your chest up. So you wanna feel a nice stretch through the front of your hip and your hip flexor, and then you're just gonna straighten both legs out. And then go back and forth between those two poses about 10 times on each side. And if you have a hard time bringing your hands down to the floor and keeping them there, especially when you straighten, then you can use 2 blocks under each hand. So 10 times on each side for that one. So this next pose is called Areata, and your feet are really wide and your toes are just slightly turned in a little bit more than your heels. My hands are under my shoulders, so I'm in a nice flat back. And then I'm gonna bend into one knee and keep the other leg really straight so you feel a good stretch all the way down the inner line of the leg. And hold it for about 5 seconds, then come back to center and do the other side. And then you're just gonna keep going back and forth so that you do each side about 10 times. And again, it's 5 seconds each time you go to one side. Okay, so now I'm in a low lunge. And again, I have one knee stacked over the hip. So again, making sure that your knee isn't lunging way over your toe. And then my hips are generally stacked right over that back knee. And then you wanna keep your belly button lifting up away from your thigh, but start to drop your hips down and forward towards that right heel. Make sure that you're not arching into the back and collapsing your belly forward. Keep pulling it back. And then you're gonna bring your hands to the same hip of that front leg, and the other hand is gonna reach straight up to the ceiling and then over to the side of that front leg. So you're getting a really good stretch in that hip flexor. Hold this one for about 30 seconds and then return to the low lunge. From there, you can bring your hands down to the floor, inch this front foot forward a couple inches, and then pull back and straighten the leg. So again, my hips are stacked over that back knee, and I'm flexing the front foot and reaching my chest towards the big toe. So if you collapse and round your back, you're gonna take some of that stretch out of the hamstring. So keep reaching the chest forward, and then hold it for 30 seconds, and return to your low lunge. Once you're there, you're gonna lift that back foot up, reach back with the hand, and grab the foot, stretching into the quad. If you feel a lot of pressure or discomfort in that left knee, then you can fold your mat in half or slide a towel underneath it and cushion that knee a little bit more. And then you're just gonna hold this one again for 30 seconds. Keep the belly lifting away from your thigh, chest stays up, and then you can release the foot and come back to low lunge. So this next pose is called half pigeon, and it's gonna be a really nice stretch through the hip and the glute. But you're gonna start in downward facing dog, and then you're gonna take the leg up behind you, bend the knee and bring it up to your wrist. So you wanna do the same knee to that same side wrist, and then you're gonna move the foot up towards the other wrist. And then I'm gonna lower everything down to the mat, so my back leg comes down, and I have external rotation in this front leg. What you wanna make sure you're not doing is bringing that knee to the center of your mat, because then you're not externally rotating the thigh, and you won't get the same stretch. So make sure that that knee is out towards the side edge of your mat. Get long through that back leg, and then you can either stay up here, or you can lower down onto your forearms and hold it. If this one is a lot of pressure on your knee, then you shouldn't be in it, and you can modify by coming onto your back instead, crossing one leg, one ankle over the opposite thigh, and then lifting the bottom leg up. And then you should hold each side for about 1 minute. Okay, so this next stretch is gonna stretch your hamstring. And I'm using a strap. You can find straps in the gym, either in Studio One, in the closet hanging on the door, or in the weight room next to the elevator hanging on the door next to the lockers. Okay, if you're at home and doing this, you can use a belt or a towel or anything you have that just wraps around the sole of the foot like so. Okay, my foot is flexed, my chest is lifted, my spine is nice and long, and then I'm just gonna start to pull myself forward towards the leg. You can start to walk your hands closer towards the foot at the top of the strap. And same thing as we did before, you're gonna keep reaching your chest forward and try not to round your back and collapse the spine. Your heart is reaching towards the toes, and your toes are reaching towards your heart. So this next stretch is called a spinal twist. I'm laying flat on my back, and then I pull one knee into my chest. You're gonna take that knee and cross it over your body so that your hips start to stack one on top of the other, and then reach the other arm out to the other side of the room. You're gonna hold this stretch for 1 minute on